these are all just forms of secular states. And if you really conceive of these as being just different forms of secular states, in which this whole graph itself is on another political spectrum. The whole political compass is, to me, secular. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about the secular states. And so this whole authoritarian, libertarian, left-right thing, this is just a way to talk about distributions of various factors on a secular state model. But you could imagine the entire model as one data point on a larger spectrum of more to less secular. Okay, so what does that look like? Let us go up. Up. Now, I think that what we have as a less secular form of government are traditional societies. And I haven't put all of them in here. This is by no means exhaustive. But I just put a few. SPQR, Senatus Populisque Romanos, the Roman Republic. We've got here feudalism, a little picture of feudalism in Japan. Going clockwise around at the bottom, we've got the Byzantine eagle, where the two heads of the eagle represent two parts of the church and the state. And the church and the state are part of this two-headed bird of society. The bird is society, the church has one head, the state has another head, and they are equal. And they inform each other, they check and balance each other. Bishops excommunicate emperors, emperors call ecumenical councils. It's kind of this yin-yang thing. And then keep going clockwise around, boom, you got Athenian democracy. So these are all the kind of traditional societies. I've included a Christian one, a Greek one, a Roman one, a Japanese one, but there are all kinds of other ones we could put on here. I didn't put, ancient Egypt, for example. There's all sorts of ways of laying this out. China, etc. So why am I putting them here on this spectrum? Because unlike the secular nation states, they are less secular. Because why? Because they say, we have a religious, mythic view about what the good is. And it is a real thing that we all know. Remember when Cicero, in the first episode of this series, is saying, there's not one good somewhere else, here and there. It's not one in Athens and one in Rome. And he says, you can't change what the good is, the divine moral law of the universe, by the vote of the Senate or by the will of the people. It cannot be changed. Because it's a moral, divine reality at the highest level of the universe. So, unlike liberalism, these societies say, yes, we have a real answer to what is the good, and you need to get on board with it. Unlike fascism, they don't think that it starts with the state. That the state is the source or the purpose or the thing in which we have our reality. And unlike Marxism, they don't reduce all of history to this materialist dialectic between oppressor and oppressed. They view all the class structures of society as participating in this cosmic hierarchy, and above the ruling class of the state is, of course, the gods, who have their own hierarchies, or, in Byzantium here, the god of gods, and the saints and the mother of God, and there's a hierarchy within all of that, too. There's even on Orthodoxy, there's even a hierarchy within the Trinity, because we, of course, believe in what we call the monarchia of the Father. So these are all less secular societies than the secular nation states, sort of definitively. But you can see why, because they incorporate a cosmic, mythic, moral, religious dimension to reality, even something that we normally think of as sort of not religious, like the Athenian democracy. Although I'm just now noticing that this picture I got of the Athenian democracy, this is of Cicero during the Catilinarian orations, like I said, which is Roman. So I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know why. That's a mistake. Somebody made a mistake. It wasn't me. Anyway, but you get the idea. It's like, oh, Athenian democracy, they just voted. It's like, no, they had a complete conception of the gods. They celebrated this festival to Athena every year, like I mentioned. Okay, so these are less secular forms of government. But the graph keeps going up. Oh my goodness. Well, would you look at that? It's the kingdom of heaven. So, what is the best form of government? According to me, the kingdom of heaven. And I think that this is a disappointment to certain people on the internet, perhaps, who are hoping for me to pick one of the other ones. Like, oh, he really, he's going to advocate for some sort of monarchist thing or some old Byzantium or something that's in this circle. But obviously, these traditional societies, less secular that they are than the liberal democracy or fascism or Marxism, they are not the best form of government, obviously. And I think that should be obvious if you are an Orthodox Christian or a Christian of any kind who's sort of taking this seriously. Like when you really think about it, obviously the kingdom of heaven is the quote unquote best form of government in the abstract. So, and I want to say too that this is not something that is so abstract that it doesn't matter. Because I tested this answer out on somebody and he was like, well, that's a cop-out. That's not what people are asking. And sure, fair enough. People are not asking this exact question. I think that's why there's 2 more questions we're going to answer. But I think it's really important to start here because if you don't think that the kingdom of heaven is the best form of government, then I'm not sure, what you're probably not a Christian. And that's, so I'm not worried about that. I'm sure you're good with that. But if you think that saying the kingdom of heaven is a cop-out, like, okay, well, that doesn't matter because it doesn't help us now, then I would be worried about the lack of immanence in the theological background of a position that argues that. Meaning, a big part of what we talked about in the preparation of secularism historically was this loss of immanence in the West, meaning less icons, fewer icons, less talk about heaven as something that you can experience now and truly in the liturgy, and more about talking about heaven as though it were somewhere else, somewhere far away, somewhere that doesn't really affect us. It's on the other side of purgatory. It doesn't really have that much bearing, if any, on our lives in this world, in this life. But I think that's to miss a vital part of orthodoxy. But we're in this weird period where the devil used to rule the world, and Christ is ruling the world. We call this proleptic in theology, already but not yet. The devil did rule the world, and that's why it looks the way it does. But with the incarnation and the resurrection, now Christ is kind of taking the world back. It's the ultimate revolution against the fallen gods. And so the true king is invading right now. And to think that that is somehow abstract or has nothing to do with our lives is essentially to kind of have a secular conception of what the relevance of the kingdom of heaven is to our lives.